Hello everyone, this is Koda giving you a shoutcast between Mouse Mana and Control here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. This is Control, not In Control. I believe Control is a Russian player, meanwhile In Control is a Protoss player part of EG. So Mouse Mana spawning over here as the blue Protoss, Control spawning down over here as the red Terran. Terran versus Protoss here in the Xel'Naga Caverns should be an interesting matchup, as I always like Terran versus Protoss. I have been casting a lot of games recently with Zerg versus Protoss and decided to try to change it up a little bit and see some more Terran play. So Control now moving out and will be setting up a supply depot on this front door. Some players don't like to do it, as Void Ray harassment does become very difficult if you clutter up your front door very much. But if you don't put a front door down and your opponent goes for a 4-gate, then once again you are behind the 8-ball. Mouse Mana currently chrono boosting those probes out to try to get a stronger economy going before Control is able to set up that orbital command and then ultimately get a little bit of a lead. Control opting for an 11 racks instead of a 12 racks in this game, so that does give him a slight faster build on those Marines. And I believe it will also allow him to throw down a 12 refinery, and then it's going to delay his economy once again. No, not delay his economy, excuse me. And now that the refinery is currently in play, what this will do is it will obviously allow him to get higher tech units, and I'm pretty much saying things that 99% of you guys know already, so I'll just stop and save my voice as a probe now is going to wander up this ramp and see that there is this barracks down here. Now, we may see a proxy pylon here coming in from Mouse Mana. Mouse Mana does, I believe he does like a little bit more of an aggressive playstyle, and he does like an aggressive playstyle, as we should be getting a Cybernetics core in just a moment. Not a Cybernetics core before a pylon, but a pretty standard build nonetheless. Back over here, we now see the Marine trying to be trained up, will be able to just chase down that probe. The probe just still wandering around on the inside of the base, making sure that there is nothing yet in play, as this probe perhaps going to try to lay down. No, not going to place down an assimilator. One Marine now trying to take down that probe. The probe may be able to escape out. No, will not be able to escape out, as it backs around, and things are not going to be looking good for that probe. The Marine over here can just give chase, as there is a fresh Marine that has finished being trained. However, the probe is starting to regenerate some of those shields, and now we see a proxy factory coming in from Control. So Control with that proxy factory, by lifting off that barracks, he allowed the probe to escape. So nicely done there by Mana. Mana lifting up the barracks allowed for an easy route for that one probe to escape, and that probe will live to fight another day, quickly activating that Xel'Naga watchtower and now simply making its way out. We now see one Marine now making its way over here, and now what is Mana looking to do? Is Mana going to set up a pylon here and then perhaps try to set up some Void Rays, or is he actually on the move and now trying to scout for some new buildings? Zealot currently sitting over here as that factory is completed. That probe still wandering around the map looking for any cheese tech, and he wills or a cheese play as that factory now lifting off. It is not even 4 Hellions. That factory is simply lifting off in order to do some scouting. So it is a proxy scouting factory in order to get sight into this location here. We'll see the robotics bay, and now we see him going into a starport and an additional barracks as well. So what this will allow him to do is it will let him know that the robotics facility is coming online. He should not go for Banshees. He does see that there is going to be a 1-gate into a robotics facility into another gateway here. So that is a pretty standard build. Control knows exactly what to do now, and the question will be, how does Mana respond? We now see more Marines being trained off of that reactor, and we should be getting a tech lab here, and then perhaps we may get a swap here in just a moment, enabling Control to be able to start training up Marauders and get that critical research, also double train up some Marines. Back over here, that factory is still hiding off in that top right-hand corner, as another gateway currently coming online. Production-wise, that tech lab now being placed down here, and now exactly waiting to see what exactly Control is going to do. And Control going for a Raven. So an early Raven 4-point defense drone. It does make sense to try to get point defense drone and try to shut down those stalkers. But I've always felt that in a 4-gate, the real issue is not the stalkers, but the zealots and the sentries. The zealots and the sentries are so difficult to deal with. High DPS, and as long as once they get within combat range, they do deal a lot of damage. So Control deciding to respond with getting a Raven, and now getting that stim pack allowing him to obviously use stim. And now with that Raven coming out, oh, that's going to be absolutely perfect, as those Marines are going to simply be able to shoot down that one observer. Will they be able to get over there in time? And now in comes that one Raven now trying to get in front, and oh, poor observer, now already down to 30 hit points, as those Marines quickly trying to get underneath that, and that observer being able to just fly around and able to barely escape. Nicely done. So Mana being able to just stay in the game once again. We do see Marines sitting over here, but even if those Marines come into play, I believe that observer should be able to sit there, as that range is just absolutely perfect. That's always annoying, as this observer is just going to be able to sit in this position and then do some additional scouting later. We now see one Raven now coming back in with those Marines. The Raven wanting to make sure that the observer did not leave its position. It in fact has not left that position just quite yet. Still sitting there, still just taunting him, saying that your Marines Gauss rifles cannot get me. Back over here, we now see one SCV on the move. The bunker is in play, and we now have double medevacs currently being trained. But now we're double medevacs currently being trained with 2 medevacs already in the air. The combat shield has been completed, so this is going to be a mass Marine play. And now mass Marines going up against a large Stalker army that is going to be fairly decent, as those Stalkers are going to most likely get shut down by that point defense drone, like I mentioned earlier. And now with no Zealots to try to deal the more damage, as Zealots have a higher DPS against Marines, significantly higher DPS against Marines than Stalkers do, it will be fairly difficult. We now see the Observer once again on the move, and I guess Mana is talking about lag, unable to move around with this one Observer, and now trying to park it here in just a moment. So now we see Marines and one medevac on the move, taking down that one probe, and now here we go. So we now have Marines moving out with those medevacs. Back over here, we have one probe activating that Xel'Naga watchtower. We'll be able to see this army now coming in. Yeah. And now Marines and medevacs coming in. So these medevacs now coming in, and now in comes that Guardian Shield. So Guardian Shield, now Force Field's coming in. Point defense drone is in the air. Sentries need to focus down that point defense drone, as their attack is not intercepted. Very nicely done, blocking more Force Fields coming in, and wow, perfectly placed Force Fields just splitting up this army, and that Guardian Shield just simply limiting the amount of damage that those Marines were able to do at all. And now that was just a really, really bad push by Control. Mana just upset right now, just trying to get more damage. Will be able to deal a lot of damage across multiple medevacs. Marines quickly getting picked apart. Stalkers do not have Stalker Blink, as those units continue to try to get chased. Down goes one medevac there, and I believe the rest of the medevacs will be safe. But really, Mouse Mana with a dominating lead now, as he already has his expansion set up. We now see a command center finally being placed down here, but it will be quite some time before this command center is able to lift off and come into this location in just a moment. We now see, 4 medevacs in the air, Marines on the ground, and one observer sitting here, as we are now going into mass Marine play. We do see that robotics bay now coming online. So with that robotics bay, will be able to use that extended thermal lance range and just simply slice apart many of those Marines. Very, very low hit point units. And if the weapons upgrade, no weapons upgrade, but still without the weapons upgrade, they're able to deal 30 damage per slice. So 30 damage per slice, I'm able to two-shot many of those Marines. So as soon as that robotics bay comes online, Mouse Mana should be able to push out, especially now that he also has cleared out these destructible rocks. So he may be trying to push out and setting up an expansion all at the same time. We now see the Raven was finally able to take down that observer there, as Mouse Mana just sitting inside his base. Income-wise, we see 40 harvesters for Mouse Mana, Control sitting on 34, finally finished with that command center. Command center should be lifting off or upgrading to an orbital command in just a moment. The Marines are not upgraded either, and it does not look like there's going to be any upgrades in sight. The Colossus not being chrono boosted, just being built the old-fashioned way, and now chrono boost? Chrono boosting the extended thermal lance range, trying to reduce the time in order to give those Colossi a range of 9 instead of just a range of 6. we now see an upgrade to an orbital command as SCV is being transferred from the main to the natural expansion. We also see that In Control has a decent saturation at both locations, as now one medevac gonna try to drop into play here. The medevac just simply parking itself, and now just buying critical time for Mouse Mana to come in, and that's a horrible mistake, as those Marines are now finally dropping into play. In comes this Colossus. Colossus will be able to get off a lot of damage, and now, unable to only get one round of attack onto that one medevac, and now that medevac down to 41 hit points. Does not want to fly back in, but we now have another medevac coming in from Control. Control trying to do a two-pronged attack. Will be able to drop off these Marines in this location, stim, and then get a lot of damage dealt here. There is currently one Stalker in this position, as the medevac now will be able to drop into this back location. It's going to be a two-pronged attack, and this should be very, very successful, as Control simply coming in with those Marines, getting a lot of damage on top of those probes, and now going to come in over here. However, there is already a Stalker in play. Marines trying to come down, trying to shoot down that last Stalker. The Stalker will be able to absorb some of that damage. Marines trying to split up. Stalker was taken down. And now we see In Control, Control trying to leave with those medevacs. Medevacs is down to 59 hit points, and with one Colossus sitting there, will be able to gain sight. And I believe that one medevac's days are going to be numbered, but there are currently no Stargates in play, but it doesn't matter. Range of 6 on that Stalker, able to shoot it out of the sky. Back over here, we now see Control just trying to macro up a larger army. Marines are not upgraded, and things are not looking good. Army-wise, you can see that Mouse Mana has the stronger army, the larger army, and also a better unit combination. We'll be able to get up another Guardian Shield, and now getting a lot of damage. We do see that the point defense drone is in the air. Vikings trying to focus down one Colossus, another Colossus now joining in on that fight. As more force fields coming in, Marines unable to get into the proper positioning, as many of those Vikings are now getting shot down. Down it goes. A pretty fresh Colossus now coming in, and will be able to recharge some of those shields, as SCVs now coming off the mineral line. Now we medevacs trying to heal many of those SCVs. SCVs trying to come in, trying to deal more damage, and the Colossus just doing a great job pulling back. And as those SCVs start to clump together, the Colossus already up to 19 kills, may get up to in the 20 range. 20 to 25 range, and things are just looking good for Mouse Mana. Mouse Mana just moving out with these units, dealing so much damage, getting multiple kills, and now down goes. Finally, that Colossus does get taken down, but Mana simply with these Stalkers able to pick apart many of those medevacs, and down goes the medevac, and Control says GG. So, a great game between Mouse Mana and Control here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. There was the factory trying to do a little bit of scouting here, but not much else was done. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Control and Mana here in the Xel'Naga Caverns.